Yeah. So you walk up to it, like this. Just your legs go like this.
Hey, welcome stream.
Yeah. There was a bunch of executives came up and they were all wearing black suits.
You made a great impression.
Whoops.
Probably just gonna pull you in this frame in 1 second. This will wash.
We're gonna just dust you with
Put that cobwebs and snow forever.
Just stand under the bucket and hold the script.
You're ready? We're doing name tag. You want to grab one? All you folks, it's to your advantage. See you. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. I think it was still like the nearest to the.
Hey, CDT reminds me, I just unearthed some of my CDR here. I'll ask Matt about it. Here you go. About Angel. I still have a problem where, like, one time out of 6 or 7, I can get it to start the year over. But you work on the CDR? I have a thing where most things I don't have a pattern and I start here over 1 out of 7 times. So you see that? What is that? It might be obvious.
It's got somebody else.
That's what it's up there.
That's why I said
Sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there is a new one.
Okay. So, it's like you work with the remote desktop, I just realized and then launch it. Yeah, I had the best luck. I restarted CDR
I
after.
don't know if there's a VR one. I think there's sort of like how we,
Definitely not.
Twin Cities
I think the magic might have been when you just started CDR through the Steam.
I know what the problem is. They changed their Steam interface so that request can disconnect and reconnect without Steam app. So it's sitting there lying. Yeah, there's a headset here. Here's some data. Here's some not data. Yeah. 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 I was out of them again.
You got a different Discord for this? Because there's one where you don't even use any.
No.
Yeah.
So it's really great. It's always nice to have the ability to stay in my house. Now it's recording. They had a layout. Actually, one of our problems. Yeah, we left because there was an unannounced layout last year. Because it was unannounced because if you have people once, you're state law. So instead they would lay out a group.
Yeah, we need to separate it.
And I tell everybody
But
what's
I was,
happening.
yeah, I was like, oh, I wonder if we are, I haven't been on here in years.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Forever.
Yeah.
See, I have two days in Florida.
Go visit in the winter time.
He's not very good. Have you done Friendster? MySpace or no, MySite.yahoo.com.
live stream?
The sun was on the north south.
Yeah, I couldn't take off.
What we got.
Whatever, the only people that you're there with, which is a smart thing to do, were a journal. Because like we actually got that MCO or whatever, so you go to postcard because they're there for you to best their Google searching. So because you were using Google, Google Plus, whatever it was, you get better ratings on it.
So the company software like my one happy thought that I was looking for in the my boss was here, she didn't know what because it was a deal at 7 p.m. And don't be so bitter, except there's a lot of
I have the same problem as like doing all this stuff.
Yeah, so I'll build that up.
Like I was thinking, it's like finding out somebody actually still uses the website. Try to make it, you know what it's like to make it, right? Just also they're here. Did you ever see my document on how to do it? In the Google Drive, or like, so we're trying to find myself. I just got tired of the problem is I'm trying to get would it be nice to remind people that like let us know what you hear and interact with us on I just like how you're trying to say that. I'll say that. I don't know if that's still valid or not, but they want money. It's we need like a social media person. Facebook, I was trying to like make one post across posts to only do it with mobile. Couldn't do it on PC. So I had to do all this stuff on PC, then go to mobile.
So that's
your checkbox, which is not all Facebook. And I get nothing to
So when you can invest, I sure you put like to the table and
well, what can you do? All can do. People that it's frustrating to me. It's not you're interacting with things. What happened is, that's the things you get the most interactions are the ones that are like some of the things that you could do that are just there to get to. That's why they do this stuff. Videos or fake news.
Yeah, we're going to do name tags going on. Speaking of names, this is Chuck. I can do AR HUD, special access to software, everybody was great stuff out here.
You're It's crazy.
Maybe the laptop's just
Yeah.
Check. Okay.
Checking things over.
You up and running?
No one will notice.
Are these on right now?
Yes.
Check 1, 2. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I've got I'm just gonna keep it to myself here so I can grab it. Audience
That's a good idea.
Yeah. This is what shows up. It's just the schedule. Oh, good. Changes.
He lives far away. That's right. That's like 5 or 10 years ago. That's exactly what there's the basic code that's essentially what it to, and then there's the
Like, if I didn't call in within the 4-hour window, it gets empty of like, it's like, no, strictly worded, do this.
Those still windows at the end of the day, so. We got you about a console. Well, now it's time to upgrade your upgrades. Oh, it won't boot. Sorry. Recovery. Recovery disc. Did you make one? Oh, you didn't make one. My laptop still doesn't have the latest Windows update. It's in Oh, there's that. Quite the lag. It's concerning. It's almost a half a second.
And then they said, okay, we don't watch.
Hey everybody, we're going to get started. If you wouldn't mind taking a seat or standing somewhere. Oh yeah, right. How's the levels? If I don't move? Alright.
You could probably say it.
I won't risk it. Please take your seats. Sit down. Up there? Oh, so we've got that's monitor 2 and this is monitor 1. Can we, what do we do? Can we click?
Zach, if you...
Oh, this mouse.
So that's up there. Yeah. But I'm getting output. I'm getting this in my output. Or something. No. Or actually, no. Yes, that's what I'm getting. No, I'm not.
What do you see? Yeah, you are. Can you set that?
Let me just do this. Sometimes the capture card has a problem with things going to sleep.
Yeah. Chrome's unhappy now. You're still not seeing it though. Is that your Google homepage?
It might be. I don't think so. My browser was not even running.
Is it that?
I got that.
Okay, it's just got a delay on it. It's like a big.
It's mirroring now again.
Doesn't make sense.
Do you need 2 separate screens?
I have notes.
Okay. Yeah, he's got it too. Yep.
Yeah, so let's do it. So it should be.
You've just got a second Chrome on your second monitor.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, cool.
Reload.
Just some technical difficulties here. Stream will be up in a second.
Beautiful.
There we go.
All right, everybody, we're getting started here. Welcome to, where are we? MNVR and HCI. How many people, this is the first time they've ever been to this group? And how did you find us? But how did you find about the event? Did you find the event? Matt, you told him? Exactly. Glad to have you. And this is your first time?
Yes, my first time at this meeting, yes.
How'd you find us?
I have an Eventbrite account and I have technology is one of the things to kind of do about.
And it just told you?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Sent a message. It works. Yes. It's around the time that I have touched my computer, yeah.
Great. Well, welcome, guys. And yeah, so we're focused on virtual reality, augmented reality, and really any kind of interesting interactions, with cameras and connect sensors and things like that. And if you signed up for this event, our parent organization is called IGDA Twin Cities, the International Game Developers Association Twin Cities. You'll see an invite for that. That's on the second Wednesday, and we're always on the fourth Wednesday. Where's my mouse? There it is. Yeah, and one thing we want to do as we're getting rolling here is just anybody that wanted to do an announcement for the group. I think we had two. One was Brian. Brian, do you want to say something to the group?
Yeah, sure.
Do you have a website, or you can type it?
Yeah.
Or I can type it?
How about we double task?
Microphone, microphone.
I'll just wing it because I think most of you are familiar. So last October we teamed up with Twin Cities Film Fest to do the first XR segment that they've ever done in their programming. We had it right here at Rem 5, of course. We showcased over a dozen films from local to international artists. I'm sure a lot of you have tried a lot of really cool 360 projects and full 6-DoF projects, but that was fun because we got to actually check them all out.
Do you have one on your website for the
Um,
Film Fest?
Not yet. So we're working out when the dates are, but I saw that we are going to talk a little bit about 360 experiences tonight, so I figured it was kind of a tangent to it. So October, I'm finalizing the dates. We're going to hang in. We're going to hang in with it. October 23rd, 24th, or 25th. We're going to have a 2-night event here at Rem 5. So I'm just putting it on your calendar. Also, if you've seen any projects that kind of fall into a general immersive film category, like I don't have anything really for AR yet in the lineup, so if you've seen anything, send stuff my way because we'd love to show it. We'd love to show local projects, but it's a really fun time, and especially there's a lot of stuff out there that you can't get on the Steam store, you can't get in App Lab, so like you can only see it here, and I think you all would really enjoy it. So I will have more details, and I'll work together to do a discount for the group or whatever, but TBD on all that stuff. But it was a really fun time last time, so we're kind of doubling down and doing a bunch this upcoming year.
You said late October?
Yep,
Right.
yep,
So
that week of the 23rd. They basically have a couple nights where they're not doing screenings for like the traditional film, and so that's when we get to do our thing. So
Excellent. Yeah, and we'll definitely give you an update here next month and in the next email that we send out. So thanks. We had one other person that wanted to do an announcement. Let's see if they're here. Moment. Well, okay, anybody want to do an announcement? I don't have to look up your name. You can just start talking. Anybody? Anybody? Going? Okay, that's good. We'll just move right on to the main event here. So if you haven't seen one of the presentations before, one of the places in town that does a lot of VR content is Pixel Farm. And I've gotten to see their latest project, and I was super impressed with it, so I asked them to come speak. So we'll kind of do the talk of what's under the hood, and then afterwards everybody can try it for themselves. We got 3 quests here to do demos afterwards. And Zach, are you kind of doing all the talking, and Matt's just sidebar, peanut gallery? Excellent. Yeah, so let's hear it for Zach. You could probably put this on if you feel comfortable doing that. You don't have to hold it.
All right. Oh. Do you have that?
Which one's yours?
This one I just set down. All right. Should we get this?
Yeah, you just close those tabs. Beautiful.
All right. Oh. It's all right. First introductions. I'm Zach Chapman. I've been doing VR and AR for. Oh.
Good. Keep talking.
All right. I've been doing VR and AR at Pixel Farm for like 5 years on and off. Yeah, doing a lot of VR and AR stuff. This project's mostly about Oculus Quest and developing in Unity, particularly with videos. So this project was the future of driving. And here's a little teaser. It's a VR experience for the Oculus Quest that demonstrates the hypothetical future of 3M technologies in heads-up displays. So the objectives were to demonstrate the potential applications. It had to run on Quest 2 hardware, and it had to be like a straightforward for a trade show audience and needed to provide visual wow. This was a blue sky sort of thing, you know, getting people the idea of what will come. So we wanted to make it really pop. So our solution was to use we also had a tight time frame. So first idea is to use a real-time car in the near area and a 360 video for the area around, sort of a Disney ride style. Originally it was going to be a short loop. We eventually pivoted. But the idea is that you get diminishing returns in 360 video the further away you get as far as depth goes for stereo vision. So if we put our processing in the near ground for the car, we could pre-render all of our exterior stuff and get that performance back. Yep. So pivots and roundabouts, we started with like, oops. A project that was very different, and partway through we had to pivot. So originally we were going to focus on a variety of applications of materials. And so we got as far as making prototypes for effects showing solar radiation, experimenting with using cards for animated stuff outside the view, because we were originally using a looping video, and it was going to be a holodeck style. We used the thing to simulate all sorts of neat effects. We finally got to the client for the first review, and we took a new direction because it was not the wow we were looking for. The focus then became on only the HUD part of the car experience, and it meant we had to work on specific navigation features, particularly the HUD showing the path down the road and highlighting signs and stuff as they appear. And these things required a strong tie to the video. And they also wanted, from our abstract, very cheap to render holodeck sort of view, they wanted to go straight for full video, or full realistic looking rendering. Luckily, we were already planning on using video, so the role of video in our project ballooned a lot. What we ended up keeping were the geometry for the car that we started, the concept for the HUD display, and a neat effect that I had managed to get out before that, in which the old style cabin transforms into a new one. And I have a little demo of that effect. Oh no. Oh no, it works on mine.
There you go.
I guess I gotta trigger it there. Select some fun effects.
And that's actually real geometry.
Yep. Well, and now you get to see my, there it's back. All right, so to accomplish this, we split up the project into basically two main areas. We had the interior of the car, and that included basically all of our HUD effects, or most of our HUD effects, and anything that's near the user, and also the dashboard. And because we wanted to look realistic, everything that shows up in the display is dynamic. That means the speedometer changes speed as the car accelerates and decelerates. The date and time, I just added it to queue to the actual device date and time. And we also included a Google Maps style display of the map that takes up most of the center console in the futuristic view. That was all done in Unity UI. Because it was already set up for 2D displays, we used World Space Canvas. So the dashboard map is actually just a giant scene that we panned and scanned as we went through the thing.
Oh, this is the thing on the TV.
Yeah, so that's the dash, and then there's a mask and a extra effect to help it sit in. We added a little border, and you'll see that in the demo. But the entire time, it's the entire page just panning behind. For this, we used a heavy amount of the Unity timeline. It's very powerful because you can basically script anything in Unity that you can expose a variable for. We use that to, anything that you can serialize in the editor can come up. So I then added handlers for each of the things to expose, like the speed, so I could drive that. And it also let me consolidate the speed animation all to one track instead of into a bunch of like 500 tracks, because this is already a lot. The other magic is Stencil Buffers. I use that a whole lot. Yeah, and the sneaky bit is that these gray rectangles that you see outlined are just a mask, and the transforming effect when you saw the HUD elements disappear from view is just that block moving through and affecting whether they're rendered or not. I learned, every time I use Stencil Buffers, I learn a new thing. And this time I realized that it's an array of bits and not the numbers that Unity insists on showing. So you can do things like check a particular bit rather than having to, like, if it's larger than this number, which is, not obvious in Unity because it's all based in the GLSL. So the exterior is the 3D rendered part. So this was all baked beforehand, and then the rest of it was synchronized to it. This was mostly in our 3D department. Most of the pre-production was, so we had the 3D team set up in Maya a whole map and rendered out some passes to get okayed by the client. And it was, through those reviews, and then it was rendered out with multiple passes into 360, and then the 360 video is what we brought in. One of the problems that we came across is that there were elements of that effect that are baked into the video. The line going down the road and elements picked out, like cars coming into view, are all baked into the video, all those effects. And we had this problem where the AR HUD is only supposed to show up in the windshield because it's an effect, or it's happening by the windshield. But we are using the Quest, which allows you to tilt. So if somebody moves too far this way or too far that way, they start seeing either the effects outside or they're seeing the gap where we faded out. I call this the pillar problem. What you see above is something I tried to use to guess how much range we had in the projection to, if we had to mask it off. And basically we found another solution, which is a bit mask on the windshield. So what's actually happening is we have two videos going simultaneously. One of them has the effects rendered, and then there's a bit mask on the windshield mesh, so that you can only see the video that has the HUD effects through the windshield. Everything else is just the normal standard view. And the way we pulled this off while also keeping everything synchronized was using a video atlas. So if you're familiar with like 3D art, atlasing is when you take a bunch of images and put them all in the one file. Here, this is a video where we've segmented off. The top section is the whole 3D plate, and then the bottom right is 180, that is what's only visible through the front. And we were able to save that, or because that's only 180, we also had extra space that our rear view cameras and mirrors also get fed from the same video, so everything is synchronized. And the rear view is down in the bottom left and all that extra space. Normally this would be if it were a stereo projection, or we knew we could handle all this info because if it were a stereo projection, you'd have the left and the right above. But here we just packed in our extra information. The next part of our challenge, once we got that running, was the client also wanted a 360 video that they could pass around without the headset, or in a headset but without the interactivity, or post on YouTube and that sort of thing. And that came to capturing video out of Unity because all of our compositing is happening in Unity. For that we used Unity. I've used Unity Recorder in the past, and it's another surprisingly powerful tool. It'll let you capture 360 video and at a significantly upscaled frame rate because it will just step a frame and render out and step a frame and render out automatically. Sort of a like a renderer, but also still running on real-time technology. The problem is that we were feeding in video, and the video does not like to synchronize in that in that playback. So what we had to do is Matt Summers actually helped write a special timeline track because everything's using that timeline that will play the next frame every single new frame and manually step through all those frames so that we wouldn't lose any. And what that meant is also we had to make a massive file because it was using only P frames, which are the ones that contain the entire image, because we couldn't interpolate with the single steps.
Basically like an uncompressed video.
Yep, yep.
And this is only for the YouTube sort of, one that's going to YouTube.
Yeah, for the
So
one.
You don't have to worry about the whole reel.
No, no. And so this was playing at like, I think 5 frames a minute or something silly. And saving those out into a file. The other challenge we had was that to get that high scale, we were using H.265, and we had like 2 machines in the building that had that codec installed. Yeah, window machines with that codec. Yeah.
There was a whole day of trying to figure out how to get that installed
Mm-hmm.
on YouTube.
Yep.
You just had a snapshot of my life. When you look at 360, does it turn this motion blur?
I believe we, not by default, I would have had to try to implement that. It was taking the video as it was fed, so the motion blur would have only, if there was any motion blur in the rendered video already, that would have been preserved. It would have only mattered for our UI elements, which don't move a whole lot anyway. But yeah, we didn't do a lot with motion blur otherwise. The other ask was for point of view capture. We had done like locked off views for preview for review, where I just was able to capture right out of Unity just on the screen and didn't have to wait the 5 seconds a frame. Problem is, when it's locked off, it doesn't really sell the this is a VR experience. And the client was really adamant that we had, you know, natural head motion, or what I started calling noodle neck. When you're like, when you see captured from the headset, it looks like somebody's going like this all the time. Yeah, so we'd been developing on the Quest, and actually my development rig only had the Quest. And so we tried like just capturing the live feed from the headset as we like watched it in the editor. The problem with that is that you don't see it because the hardware smooths it, but there's a lot of noise to that motion tracking. And so the display that we were trying to capture was like juddery and loose. The Unity Recorder came to the rescue again, because that will also allow you to record to an animation. So I was able to make a dummy that follows the player head while they're watching the experience and record the position of that dummy. And I used some smoothing on that, so we got some, or to clean out a lot of the noise. And then I was able to then take that animation track and actually do a few like later stage edits where I could adjust like where they were looking, or if they overshot a mark, I could go back in and move the position of the head to fix it to a spot where it hits the mark at the right time. And then we were able to export a very high resolution with that, and we could pump it higher than we could if somebody was performing that live, because it was a canned animation. So how does that fit in the screen? I gotta go over here. So this is the full experience. I don't know if we have audio.
When it comes to the road ahead, 3M is always asking, what's possible? Especially when it comes to head-up displays or HUDs. While today's modern HUD is helpful for foreground information like this, we have to wonder, can it do more? Be more accurate? Provide easier guidance?
Are all the cars 3D?
More safety?
All the cars are rendered into the video. Yep.
Of the future. Look closely as
The
we
only thing that are live are
transforming today's HUD.
the car cab and the HUD directly in front of you giving the live
And notice
display.
how films make screens like this more viewer-friendly. It's these innovations that allow this future HUD to keep more eyes on the road, not the phone. Even in unexpected emergency situations where scenes are fluid and rules are unclear. Notice how this future HUD goes beyond the foreground to see the bit
Well, this is an ad.
by showing this driver where to pull over. The future HUD allows responders to pass
There's,
and the driver to return more safely to the road.
So our client actually came in,
Can really
he
take
sat in the chair.
ready to see for yourself?
Exactly perfect.
Let's go.
Oh, really?
yep.
Oh, wow. Great.
And then that was used as an animation track to drive.
Drive that
the actual
dummy.
camera. that
Okay.
As intersections and infrastructure evolve, there are new patterns to follow and rules to make sense of. Which brings us to everyone's favorite, the roundabout. Notoriously confusing, the roundabout
It's
requires
really
the driver
convincing
and the
that
car
the
to
car
make
is
sense of
around you,
multiple options
and
while
you're just
driving
all
at speed
steering.
with other cars nearby. This driver is hoping to make the third exit, but notice how today's single-pane HUD can't provide the accurate lane information in the time needed, causing the driver to not only miss the exit, but also put other traffic in danger. Now, pay attention to the advantage of a HUD of the future loaded with 3M solutions. With multiple panes and more accurate views of the road, see how it accurately navigates the driver into the correct lane and easily guides them to make their exit.
Notice how like you can't see the highlight on the lane outside the window.
There's an interesting side effect of the compositing too, where because the windshield is blocking what can be viewed, but the view is actually 180. You can look around the window posts and you can see the AR content, but when you look through the outside, you don't see any of it. So it's really convincing that it's all 3D when everything is outside of the car is
Since
just
today's
video.
HUD lacks mid-range information, notice how the driver is surprised as the jogger suddenly decides to use the crosswalk. Without accurate guidance or advanced warning, both
So all
drivers
this
and
3M
pedestrians
technology
will be put
exists
in a
right
risky
now?
situation.
Some of it's in my car.
In New York, just got a billboard where they have lanes for limited.
Now, let's see how 3M solutions help make the HUD of the future in this same scenario. With sharper mid-range understanding, it's able to highlight not only this approaching jogger, but also the stop bar and all other sign elements. And clearly, a more informed driver means a much safer crosswalk. But what about more complicated intersections? Don't worry, we've thought about those too.
But you can see the mirrors. That's just that smaller version of the video.
Making sense of a five-way
Playing
stop
on
can make any
geometry.
driver panic. And today's
And
HUDs
since it's
can
all
provide
one
a
video
accurate
that's an
read of
atlas,
the intersection,
it all plays at the same
especially
rate.
at the time a driver
And it's
needs it.
UV'd so that it's mirrored,
But
so
notice
you
how,
see the
yet
opposite,
again,
you
this
see the,
3M-enabled
it acts
HUD
just like
is
a
able to
mirror,
show the
basically.
bigger picture. It reads the intersection, then clearly provides guidance, ultimately bringing our driver through the turn they need to make. So what does a smarter HUD mean for the road ahead? It means more eyes on the road where they belong, more accurate navigation, more safety measures at every turn. And for those possibilities, 3M is proud to pave the way.
Cool edit at the end there with eyes on the road. Squirt, 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 squirt. I just
So we were basically for the video work, our just regular CGT was able just to like do whatever they wanted because we didn't have to worry about it running on Quest hardware. So there's all kinds of reflections and shadows and global illumination, and there's all kinds of just visual quality that just couldn't exist in real time on the Quest.
The visual quality, of like the reflections and everything and all those skyscrapers and stuff looks great in headset, and it is all just pre-rendered.
Yeah.
Yes?
It's question time. Could you go back a little bit to the compositing, the 360 and the 180 and the...
Like the video composite?
The Atlas.
So the part that I was missing out, you're, and again, I don't know this tool, this mask, what do you call it? The
Stencil buffers.
Stencil buffer. The stencil buffer. So can you just go through that again really quick? Because you're using the stencil buffer to separate the stuff in the side windows, if you wish, from the stuff from the windshield that's got the HUD on it. Okay.
Yep.
So I do get it. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
the 180 is being masked by that stencil buffer. Gotcha. Cool.
yeah. So if we go back to, in this view, that sphere, it's kind of hard to see. The car is, you can't see my pointing.
Yep. It's there.
There it is. So the car is right in here, and then around it is the video that we project. And so there's actually two spheres there. One is showing the full view, and the other is showing is rotated 90 degrees, I think, and showing just that, just the HUD version.
And this was done both in that fancy video we just watched and in the headset.
Yeah, the fancy video is directly what you would be seeing in the headset. It's just we did it in the editor and kicked it out like as if it were a renderer.
Gotcha.
So is it just multiple cameras and then just uses the geometry as the stencil, so to speak?
It's a single. Yeah, it's a single camera, and there's a check where the material will check if this bit is 1 or 0, we'll throw away this info.
In the draw order of the layers, the AR view is set to draw over top of the other video. So they're actually like the same sphere, I think, same dimensions, and then just the drawing order that you can specify in Unity of how like a material is drawn is just set higher on the AR one. So when the stencil buffer draws, the end result is you only see the version that's the AR in there.
Brian?
I think you guys might have talked about it a second ago. What 3M product is this for?
It's, I think,
What's it
yeah.
supposed to be, I guess? Or is it them just streaming big in their innovators?
I think it's various things that they're working on. The project originally started focusing on material science for films.
That's what
And so a lot of their work in the HUD stuff is with like films with certain reflectivity and dealing with polarization and that sort of thing.
That's what I figured. I just was maybe 3M has expanded.
There are films that originally was call-outs for like films that cover over the cameras, so that you don't feel like you're looking at a video studio when you're driving your car. You have all these cameras looking at you, kind of thing. And so they kind of like they're one way, so the camera can see out, but then it has like a shiny surface that just looks like the dash, so you can't see that it's actually there. From things that like will reflect heat or reduce reflections, things like that.
So why do you need a HUD if it's still driving the car?
For feedback, to know your high score.
So another question?
Yep.
So when you're talking to the clients, was there any concept of actually using real 360 live action video and going through a real city?
We have done that before, but in this case, they wanted to just begin just as he went over. There was iterations.
Gotcha.
Like we started out with like we're gonna go after demo all these theoretical products in some cases and actual products, and then they kind of just like narrowed it down to just more of a general experience because
Associated with a HUD and a car.
Yeah.
part of that was the intention of where they were going to show this. Like if it was a choose your own adventure kind of mode, it would be hard to know like when is somebody done and how do you do throughput and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
it ended up becoming more of this just timed, experience basically.
So the only interaction from the user of the headset is moving your head.
Yep.
And your body. Okay.
Yeah, and you get because it's 6DoF, you can move around and it helps sell that everything you're seeing is 3D, even though only the car is 3D.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll all get to do this later.
Yeah, we have 3 or 4 devices with it on it, so you can try it out.
What was the project length and the team?
Um,
So far?
like how long?
Forever.
Yeah, forever. Well, partway through, the original event we were making it for was canceled because ongoing pandemic and whatnot. So that meant that was when we had the chance to like step back and restart. So I think after the restart, it was maybe 5 months.
You use lots of people like for the runner running across the street. That was the traditional 3D group made it for you.
Yep.
Cool.
So we have, at Pixel Farm, we have multidisciplinary teams. So we have a full 3D team, we have an audio department, we have a dev team, production. So in this case, it was, I think 2 or 3 3D from the 3D team. There was one initial developer who did, or 3D modeler and animator who did like the city work and kind of, built out the main kind of structure of the content. And then a couple others came in and worked with the revised versions where we added like all these crazy roundabouts and trees and things like that into it. So
Yep.
one thing too, just with the video sprites, the Unity video player does not do
Alpha?
no, it doesn't do mip mapping.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we came up with the idea of doing the mirrors with video, like it was a clever idea. We're just like, oh, what if we just literally UV'd the mirrors with the same video that we're playing in the skies, and then we just inverted it so that when the car comes up from behind you, you see the logo reversed. So it gives you that feel that you're looking in a real mirror. And the video player doesn't generate bitmaps. So you have this 5.7K video that's
On
like
a very tiny screen.
2 inches
So
of
it got-
geometry in the scene, and it just looks like gritty pixels doing,
Yep.
So that was one of the reasons why we ended up going to the atlases, because we were able to lower the resolution of that 360 image down to effectively what a bitmap size would be,
Yep.
and then just UV it to that section of the atlas so that the mirrors would have that lower resolution video.
So the mirrors are sampling just from the little bit in the bottom corner of that. And yeah, all the UVs are scrunched into there.
The small little black space was maybe going to be the video for the map on the car's screen, and then you saw the monstrosity that it ended up actually being. Big giant canvas. With
It's a very cool monstrosity. All right, yep, Ryan?
All right, you made this basically for a trade show, right? All right, so now you've got it all ready, you bring it to 3M. Do you take it to the trade show with them, or you just give it to them and say, good luck, have at it? How does that work?
It's been a mix. But in this case, our client took it, pushed it onto all his devices, and he brought them with his team out to whatever the event, did the internal shows, that kind of stuff. So we didn't have to go. There's been times where one or more of the team have gone to like a trade show to help out, like a demo kind of situation, but that was more early on in our relationship with 3M. Like they've kind of got more sophisticated internally, and they can kind of do that.
My next question is, how does that go? Because I've seen that, like, oh yeah, we'll take it, and they don't have a clue.
Because 5 years ago, we had you and other people giving presentations about cool trade show things you've done, and sending the team was a big part of that. The whole quest changed that a lot.
It's a lot more accessible.
Less complicated to
Didn't
deploy.
need fancy computer, didn't need somebody swapping batteries.
But some projects we've done for 3M in the past, like we bought special laptops, and we got Pelican cases, and we had custom laser cut foam put in there so that the computer and the headsets and all the things could fit in there, and they could put it on a plane.
And then you
know,
train somebody to
and we
sort
train
of
somebody to
how
like, take it out of the box and use it,
reboot
you know.
it. Okay.
And so they were sending those around the world, you know, with instruction manuals to try and get somebody to do it. And now it's like, you take it out of the box and you have it in your hands. So.
Zach, we had a question from the stream.
Oh, yep.
Who did the script and narration?
The narration was done in-house with Ken Chastain. He does a lot of our stuff. He's our sound guy. The script was provided by them.
Okay.
Those kind of evolve sometimes too. Like we'll bring in like specific writers sometimes if they're trying to go for like some kind of tone or some kind of specific take on, you know, on the content for the experience. This again, it says it was an evolution and changed like 5 or 6 times. So I think it was Ken the entire time though.
Yeah.
So for you folks that don't know, and some of you are new, I used to make TV commercials for a living, and that's what Pixel Farm used to make most of their money doing. And so they have this background of having all this audio and creative and video people. It's in-house. The stuff we're talking about here is this really cool extension that you guys have done to them. And so,
people hire like full-on professional voice talent depending on what the budget is.
which is standard operating procedure for like a TV commercial.
And it's just that's a lot more expensive, so it depends on the project.
Yep.
You know? And now it's even more expensive because voice talent is like negotiated ongoing royalties. So if something's going to exist beyond the initial showing, the contract has a limited time. And so if it's going to live beyond that, you have to keep paying them. You know, so depending on whether you're using a contract, you know, VO talent, or whether you're using, you know, in-house voice talent, there's a cost difference associated with that. So it's kind of crazy. I know that there's like a job that we just are almost doing nothing to, but we had to renegotiate the licensing. So it's like thousands of dollars, and they don't come back in. They don't record anything. They're just renegotiating for being able to have their voice being broadcast out into the space. So, and that's, I mean, it hasn't always been that way. That's a new.
It's a fairly new thing.
All right.
I got another one if nobody else has got a question.
Yep.
So Zach kind of talked about this a little bit before. Internally, again, I'm using the runner running across the street as an example. You're sort of the client for some of the stuff that's getting done. Is that a new way that you guys work together at Pixel Farm, where the traditional 3D group is making things for you? Who's doing the reviewing and who's saying? Is there a hierarchy? Often in a project, if it was like a TV commercial, there'd be a director. And going down, and is somebody have the stamp at the top of the hierarchy that says this works, this doesn't work, now we'll show it to the client? Or is that how you still work?
Yeah, we have creative director Jeff, who was Jeff on this one? Yeah. Is pretty hands-on in like most of the departments. And also our client with 3M is also pretty hands-on with that. So this is new for, at least from my experience for ours, because it was so much in the pre-rendered department.
Right.
Usually we're doing real time, and so we get assets, but then after that it's a handoff and it's all on our park. Because this one had such a pre-rendered aspect to it, a lot of that was happening while I was dealing with the technical stuff, and they were able to like do the, you know, choosing the path and how quickly they run across and all that sort of thing was happening behind the scenes I was uninvolved with, but that meant I could take that time to iron out technical stuff.
And that's not normal for us.
No.
Okay.
We're the real-time team, so we're used to just doing it all in 3D content.
So I'm old and I forget things now. The stuff right here that we're looking at, this pre-rendered stuff, was that rendered in the Quest, in the Oculus, or? So that was all?
No.
It was all rendered, it was all modeled in Maya.
Gotcha. So
and
it's all
rendered
Maya traditional
with
render.
Redshift to our render farm.
Gotcha. Gotcha, okay.
Yep.
And that was kind of a pain point in this process because again,
Yeah.
think about real time, you just like throw in the new model and hit play, you're done, right? This is like
Yeah.
that video was rendered 16 times, and each time it took days. You know.
Yeah, that was what was so cool, because you're making something that's even cooler looking, where it's a few minutes a frame, or like a few seconds a frame,
Yeah.
as opposed to the standard thing we always used to say.
Vector. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
It's not vector, like you're using a series of vectors to
No.
project, to kind of coordinate into an image. So you have the image.
So
exposed.
behind the scene, it is geometry.
Right.
It's modeled in Maya. I believe this is like all the materials were set up for specifically for Redshift, so which is a
Traditional renderer.
It's a
Yep.
it's an biased 3D renderer, ray tracer. And so it's just like that was sent out to like 30 GPUs and rendered across the network. Like each machine is like pumping out frames, and then
And
we
each frame might have taken 20 minutes or something.
yeah.
Is it rendered in the Atlas format, or is that
No.
composited afterwards?
So that was brought into Premiere or something, and they
Yep.
pulled in all
You
the
make your own
videos.
Atlas with 3 different videos. renders.
Yep.
So that was another
So
step
you're
in the
doing
process.
3 different render. So who made the car path? Is that you guys, or is that render guys?
That was the 3D guys.
And then you
So
just had it.
all of it actually, so there's an extra software element that was used, obviously, was After Effects. And so a lot of the overlaid AR stuff was all added on top of the render.
Oh, that's in the
City.
video.
Yep. Yep. All of that.
So that bottom
Yeah.
video that has like the blue grid on it,
Well,
that's
and
the,
the drop boxes around the vehicles.
yeah, that was all done in
So,
After Effects and tracked on top.
The
of
stuff up here, this is all that was real time. This is the only thing that was happening, that is happening in the headset. The rest is baked into a video frame by frame.
We tried it.
So this is all vector based and stuff, but the other video is all, yeah.
The effort of, like,
Yeah, yeah.
I have an old version I can show if you really want to see it. It's terrible. But trying to real time highlight objects in a video that's playing, you know.
We have to put a game object where you think it is, and then show exactly where it is from the video.
And then dealing with this whole like trying to fake the AR element and contain it in the windshield. We just threw all that out. We baked it into the video.
So, again, I was confused. This stuff that you've got up here right now,
Yeah.
which is the date and the time and that's in the headset. That's
Yes.
in real
Yep.
time.
And that's all
Gotcha.
that-
When you were
that's
saying
actually-
that, when you were saying that you were masking masking HUD elements, you're talking about the boxes around the car and highlighting the.
And the highlighted roadway.
Oh, okay. So that was all done by your buddies down
And
the hall.
this
Yep.
was a lot of these elements. We started out with raster, and we did do all these as SVGs. So these were all the HUD elements were vector because the resolution of the headset is high, but you still, when you're dealing with pixels, it's just
Yep.
mid mapping and things like that. It gets blurry.
So they're vectors that are you can render vectors in
Yeah.
the
So there's an
in the
it's
headset?
still experimental, I believe,
in Unity.
but it's a vector library specifically for Unity.
I
It's
had
in the,
no
it's in the
idea.
package manager, and you can. What's that? But so like basically all those elements were able to be set up as you can once you use the vector library you can bring them in as GUI elements. So you can use like a button or you can use like a and you can use that vector element as the as the object that it draws.
And it's
It has all the
rasterized in
gradients.
real. It's
Yep.
rasterized at runtime.
It generates geometry
Oh, sweet.
from the vector data, and then it generates like these kind of gradient.
It's like, have you seen if you go to stippling and you use dot motions to just dot things into a picture?
Yep.
So it's the same thing, only using like mathematics sense in terms of your coordinate on
And
the
and the interesting part is that I didn't understand is that they're doing it at runtime in the headset, which is new to me. That's great.
And it,
That's
it
so cool.
basically, when it loads, it caches like a geometry version of the vector.
Sweet.
So you don't have to like constantly, you can dynamically animate it, create and destroy elements.
Gotcha.
You can load them in runtime too, so you could, like we did a different application, non-AR, non-VR, that's just a desktop and mobile application. with some motion graphic style like landing screens, and it was all like images and vector assets that, because we were able to just give that to the designers,
Right.
and let them use Illustrator
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
make vector art.
Oh, I had
and
no
then just
idea.
look at
That's great.
And then when you deliver it, it's actually a lot smaller because you're shipping a vector asset.
Yep, it doesn't have to be.
That's what you're saying. That's the whole purpose for doing that.
And you can draw it as big or as small as you want.
Oh,
It's
that's
independent.
cool.
Right.
I got a question.
Yep.
So, was an attempt made to do all this in real time and optimize it at first? And how soon did you realize that you had to just pre-render everything?
So
They said
for
photorealistic city, I said, like, nope.
we did a similar project before in like a real-time city. Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
And we're like, from that we knew. Also, we had already decided we were going to do this spherical. And when they said photorealistic, we're like, okay, we're going to keep that spherical scheme and just push more into it.
In the project that you worked on, so so we had the city, and we had to figure out a light map, 3 or 4 miles of city.
Yeah, that was challenging. We had to
Yeah.
turn stuff on and off based on where your viewpoint was.
And in that scenario, you were stationary.
Yeah.
So you were at a fixed vantage point, cars are driving around you, and now we flipped it, so you're in the car driving through all this stuff. So we basically were limited with tricks. Like, when you're in a standing position, there's a wall here. We can hide everything behind it. you
Yep.
know? When your car is moving through the city, and
You're gonna
can
go
look at
past so much
360
more
degrees,
geometry.
It's a lot harder to hide things.
Yeah.
We pretty much just nixed that idea.
So you knew right away, essentially.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
And Andrew's push for this was realism. He wanted
Yep.
to get as real as we could get. Yeah, and it's still stylized.
Yep.
It's not,
It's a little hyper real.
Well, that was the fun thing coming in here. I thought you were taking live action video and stitching it in. And I was sort of like, oh, they didn't do that, but it's like, well, this is
We've done
No,
that for
this
this
was
is
throwing our
pretty
whole
cool.
render farm at it instead of just a little chip.
We've done that for another project. We have a 360, like a 5.7K, actually it's an 8K 360 video camera from, I can't remember which one it is. It's the ball one.
It's the pro.
Yeah. And it has the remote. You can like throw the antennas on an iPad and hide a mile away and control the camera so you're not in the shot. And we've done a few projects for 3M where we like went into like some residential area and set the camera there and like captured footage and then brought that in composite over top of it.
I did that near my neighborhood once. But
And it looks good, right? And then you see like trees moving and grass and cars driving by and that kind of stuff. But we did talk briefly, although it was cost prohibitive, of putting it in the driver's seat of a car and driving it around and getting POV from like, being in a car. But it got axed just because
and doing the HUD stuff, doing all the HUD stuff on top of live action was just
Oh no, yeah.
crazy shit.
I mean, the compositing wouldn't have been too bad because they're already used to doing that. They track all kinds of stuff.
It's a little weirder compositing in the spherical view, though.
Yeah.
I don't think we've done a lot of that yet.
I was going to say that's
Similarly, like,
Just for
yep.
clarification, if you did in fact have live action 360 video, you'd still go through all the processes of all the back end of the atlas and all, basically be the same thing as the eye for the Maya output.
Yeah, we probably could have. Yep.
And all those subsequent steps are what make the experience.
Yeah. Yeah. On my end, it's agnostic of where that 360 video came from.
There was a version of this, and the video only shows like a little bit of it because I think a bunch of it got culled. But there was this infinite loop where you're driving through the city and like bridge is going over your head, and that just effect in the 360 video just sells that you're in a real place because even if you look at the video, it's just like this warped thing with the bridge like curved in the distance. When it's all playing in the view and you're in the middle of it in the right spot, you just see this bridge straight overhead. And the roof of the car is glass. So when you look up, you see the underneath of the bridge because that happened to be what was rendered in the 360 video. And so it's really convincing that really driving through something and not just like, you know, have this fake, obviously, you know, unrealistic video just around
Yeah.
you. So, the cars, I think, were surprisingly convincing.
I thought
Yep.
that was 3D cars.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I did too.
Yeah.
I did too. And I think that's, I was thinking about this because of the picture you put on the invitation.
Mhm.
They-
Yeah, I challenge everybody to spot the 2D stuff. You'll notice for like 5 seconds and you'll forget.
The only tell is that if you lean away from too much from center, you'll get pinching, or you get perspective distortion from the spherical projection of the content. But yeah, so it doesn't get any closer to the car, like to you. It's just in the sphere, and it's scaled enough in the content that it's plausible that there's literally a
Yep.
car driving right past you.
And the amount of time that it's like close enough that you would notice that it doesn't work is so short because it's just going by you.
Right?
Yep.
It's super convincing. None of the video is stereo. And we just have stereo effects because the car is real geometry.
Yeah.
There's technically 2 videos playing overlapped with each other. One that has all of the AR content, so you're seeing that red marking on the road. All those like rectangles pointing out cars and objects. All that's just composited into that 180 view that's in that texture atlas, or the video atlas.
But you're looking at that sphere
Yep.
with stereo eyes
Yep.
when you're in that.
Yeah, the
But
headset
all the
will stereo it.
elements that are in the HUD are all real. They're all real 3D.
Mhm.
So you have enough 3D stuff in your near field that it convinces you that
Yeah.
the rest of it's
I
2D
think
too.
the research is like 10 meters beyond that, you get nothing from like stereovergence.
Gotcha.
So like
And because-
it's wasted pixels if we're,
And because I think
doing
because
that
you're
stereo.
moving, you never have. If it was completely stationary and you did this, you'd see lack of parallax,
Mhm.
and that would convince you, oh, that must be fake. But since it's constantly moving, it's constantly in motion. By the time you look, you're at a different angle, so you never get a point of reference to look and see the lack of parallax. So.
Well, nothing comes closer.
we'll see about that. All right.
And even that, you know, the curve is kind of fast. And, you don't have enough time to look and try and figure out like what's going on. How are they?
Oh, we'll try.
You can
We'll
try.
try it when you put the question to put on. So,
All right.
Any final questions?
what a great talk. What a
Thank
great
you.
video.
Thank you. Thanks for watching us on the stream. We're going to sign off here in a minute. I encourage everybody to try the demo that's here in person and try to spot these 2D things. And if you haven't used a Quest before, be sure to ask your nice demo attendee about recentering your view after you sit down and then adjusting to fit your face or your eye shape. And yeah, thanks for watching on the stream. Let's do it.
How many streamers did you have?
Started at 6. I didn't look at the final number.